As they're traveling through the muck and the swamp, Artex stops moving, refusing to move any further, and he literally starts sinking. Atreyu pulls as hard as he can, begging Artex to fight the sadness. Insert childhood trauma here. Hey guys, my name is Lisa M. Waring, and this is Real Talk, a podcast where I discuss movies and TV more extensively and how art imitates life, imitates art. Our theme this month is movies with dragons. You guys voted for the 1984 action fantasy, The NeverEnding Story, which definitely has a dragon in it. I was actually surprised that it beat out the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Go 80s. Spoilers ahead. Let's get into it. We open up in the kitchen in a house where little Sebastian is at the breakfast table and he is telling his dad that he dreamt about his mom. And his dad's response?
Sebastian, we each have responsibilities. We can't let Mom's death be an excuse for not getting the old job done, right?
Yo! The boy is like 12. 80s parenting just hits different. The boy is in mourning for his mother. He's 12. Basically, his dad wants him to stop daydreaming and getting his head out the clouds. Again, he's 12, not some 30-year-old living in your basement. They live in the city, and Sebastian is on his way to school when he is confronted by some bullies. No childhood is complete without him. They start chasing him down an alleyway, calling him a jerk and a weirdo. Now that I think about it, considering it's the 80s, that's pretty tame language. They catch up to him and force him inside the garbage bin and walk away. When they're gone, Sebastian gets out of the bin and walks out of the alley only to see them again. And they start chasing him again. You've already won. He ducks inside a store and hides as the bullies run past. This store is stacked with books everywhere. The shop owner sees him and says, "Hey, get out of here. I don't like kids." "That's very obvious, sir. You've filled your store with things that little boys would not be interested in." He doesn't like kids because they only care about comic books and video games. 40 years later, nothing has changed. But not Sebastian. He loves books. And he starts reciting some heavy hitters, which impresses the shop owner. And they start having a really good conversation. Then Sebastian notices the shop owner is reading a book that he's never seen before. And he asks him about it. The shop owner's like, "It's a special book, but not for you." Rude much. Then the shop owner gets a phone call and goes to answer it. For those born after 2010, that's called a landline. The more you know. Sebastian's not deterred though. He sees the shop owner is distracted, grabs the book, and dips out of there. Sebastian leaves a note, which is written in German. Which makes sense because this whole movie was produced in Germany. So basically the note says, "I'll return the book later." The shop owner sees all this and smiles deviously. Reverse psychology. See, you wanted him to take the book. Well done. The fastest way to have someone do something that you want them to do is tell them not to do it. Don't look behind you. Like seriously, right now. $10 says you look behind you. Sebastian's already late when he gets to school, so he peeks through the window and sees that everyone is taking a math test. He's like, "Nah, I'm good." So he goes onto the hallway and grabs a hideaway key. I have no idea how he knew where that was. And enters this abandoned room. Like there's equipment and things there, but everything is covered in spider webs. No one goes in this room. He opens the book and starts reading, and instantly we are transformed into the world of Fantasia, where we run into a man in a snazzy hat with a snail, a hairy guy with a bat, and they're all just chilling. Suddenly, this huge rock guy who's made of rocks, okay, even his bike is made of rocks, pulls up and joins them. Is he giant or are they tiny? I mean, there is a snail. They start talking and Rock Dude tells them the home that he left vanished. Literally. One day there was just this nothingness that came and it just started growing bigger and bigger. The man in the top hat says, "You know what? The same thing happened where I'm from." So they start putting things together and realize this nothingness is seriously a problem and it's spreading. They decide to all go visit the Empress and get some answers. Top hat guy hops on his snail, whose name must be Turbo because he jets out of there with the quickness. Rock guy looks in the distance and he sees clouds and storms coming and he's like, uh-oh, that's the nothingness. and is headed this way. So he's gone. They get to the Empress's ivory tower, where there's already a small crowd of creatures standing at the steps. And in front is Empress's advisor, who was basically acting like he's nightclub security. Ain't nobody getting in. He tells everyone that the Empress has fallen ill and somehow the nothingness has something to do with it. And what they need is the warrior, Atreyu. A boy pops up and he's like, "Hey, I'm Atreyu. I'm here. What's up?" Everyone starts laughing. "No, sweetie, we need Atreyu the warrior, not the boy. Where's your dad?" But he says he is the warrior they're looking for. Nobody's buying it. Atreyu just looks around. "Oh, you don't want my help? Okay, deuces." And he turns to leave, and the advisor's like, "Oh, no. We do need your help." Yeah, that's what I thought. They need Atreyu to go on this quest to stop the nothingness and find a cure for the princess. Where there's good, there's evil. So while Atreyu was over here accepting the mission, over here, we got this dark creature who has his own mission. We see a dark cave with just glowing green eyes, then lightning flashes, revealing a big black wolf creature thing. It jets out of the cave and starts running. Watch it back, Atreyu. Atreyu is riding the open plains on his white horse Artex. These names are amazing, by the way. Parents-to-be, you might want to consider adding these to your list. Atreyu is searching all over the place. He heads to the Silver Mountains. He checks the Desert of Shattered Hopes and the Crystal Towers. Even the locations have cool names. But alas, he's finding no cure or answers to the nothingness. Then Atreyu gets an idea. He heads to the deadly swamps of sadness to look for the ancient one, Marla. As they're traveling through the muck and the swamp, Artex stops moving, refusing to move any further, and he literally starts sinking. Atreyu pulls as hard as he can, begging Artex to fight the sadness. Insert childhood trauma here.
Turn around! You have to now! Come on! Artex!
It doesn't work, and Artex disappears beneath the surface. Guess we now know why it's called the Deadly Swamp of Sadness. Atreyu mourns him, and back in the real world, Sebastian is crying too. A moment of silence for our fallen comrade. Atreyu must trudge on. He's determined to find this cure and save Fantasia. He reaches this giant mountain, and surprise, surprise, it's actually a turtle shell. It's Marla. She's a giant turtle. He starts talking to Marla, and at the same time, in the real world, Sebastian yells.
They couldn't have heard me.
Not spooky at all. Marla and Atreyu go back to talking, and Marla keeps sneezing. Apparently, she's allergic to youth. It's super gross. Atreyu delivers the bad news about the Empress to Marla, and she's like, whatevs. She doesn't really care. As a matter of fact, Marla speaks as if she's two people. She's been alone with no visitors for thousands of years, and I think it's had a bad effect on her mental state. Maybe someone should have visited the turtle at least once in the past 1,000 years. Marla tells him the Southern Oracle can probably help him, but they're about 10,000 miles away. He'll never make it, so there's no point in trying. She's such a ray of sunshine, that one. A school alarm goes off in the real world, snapping Sebastian's attention off the book. He peeks out and sees that all the teachers and students are leaving for the day. They shut off all the lights and lock up the doors. He's now officially alone in the building. Ain't no way. I'd be gone. He gets a little scared and starts packing up stuff to leave, but then stops himself. Atreyu wouldn't quit. I'm not gonna quit. Nah, bruh. I would have quit. Atreyu was feeling pretty down after his conversation with Marla, and he is just trudging through the muck of the swamp. He doesn't know he's being hunted, though. Remember the really scary wolf creature? Yeah, he's almost up on him. The wolf is about to get Atreyu when suddenly a white dragon swoops in, grabs up Atreyu, and flies him away before the wolf can grab him. Hey, there's our theme. Movies with dragons. But seriously, that was kind of close. Sebastian is halfway through this book already. The boy is definitely a reader. Atreyu wakes up to find that he's all cleaned up and he's on a mountain on a dragon. A sleeping dragon. So he tries to sneak away. From a dragon, bruh? The dragon catches him trying to sneak away and starts talking to him. He tells him his name is Falkor and he is a lucky dragon. Good. Atreyu needs one of those. I'm not gonna lie, Falkor isn't really rolling off the tongue as comfortably as I like it to, but we'll push on. He tells Atreyu that he has brought him 9,891 miles, which means that Atreyu is only 109 miles away from the oracle where he wanted to be. You couldn't have just dropped him off in front of the oracle? I mean, you were right there. Just saying. Then he meets a tiny elf couple. They're actually the ones who helped clean him up. They live on the mountain, and they inform him that he has to pass through the Sphinx gates first before he can reach the oracle. And it's not easy. They show him through a telescope a knight who was going through the gates who gets zapped. The Sphinx can see straight into your heart. If you're not worthy, you cannot pass. But Atreyu is ready. He heads right down to that gate, and on either side are these big statues, which are the Sphinx. And my, are they really packing on top? They have boobs. Atreyu starts walking confidently, but his confidence starts wavering a little bit, and he starts faltering a little bit. As Sebastian is reading this, he starts yelling, "No, Atreyu, you have to run, you have to run." And Atreyu starts running just in time to miss being zapped. Woo! I've definitely talked to characters while reading the book. Maybe they'll hear me and listen. Maybe this movie taught me that. Next, Atreyu comes to an ice mirror and he sees his reflection. But then you look deeper and he sees Sebastian in his reflection. Sebastian is literally reading this, gets spooked, and tosses the book. Correct response, sir. Now gather your things, leave the book behind, and let's go home. Y'all know he didn't do that. He goes right back to reading. Atreyu reaches the Sphinx oracles. They tell Atreyu they know how to fix everything. That's what I like to hear. Spill that tea. To save Fantasia, the Empress just needs a new name. Atreyu's like, I got this. Rachel, Keisha, Lindsay, I got a bag full of names. However, no one from Fantasia can give her the name. He's going to have to go beyond the boundaries of Fantasia to find a human child to name her. Copy that, sir. Atreyu gets on Falkor the dragon and starts riding him high in the clouds as one of the best scores conceived on film starts playing. They're flying over mountains, seas, deserts, lakes. Back in the real world, it's nighttime and Sebastian is looking out of the window. Did I mention this room had like a window? It's got a window. And he's just looking into the night, just thinking about his mom. I'm sorry. Has his dad not noticed that his son has not returned home from school? It's nighttime right now. No police reports? No missing persons? Guess it's the 80s. Back in the book, a storm is coming. It's the nothingness. And it's so strong it blows Atreyu right off of Falkor and he falls and lands on a beach. Falkor is looking for him, but he can't find him. Atreyu starts walking the beach and that's when he runs into the big rock dude from the beginning. The rock dude is pretty sad though, because the nothingness took all his friends. He couldn't hold on to them. And now he's just sitting there waiting for the nothingness to take him. Atreyu can't do anything for him, so he keeps walking. He comes to this place that's like half built up and half like just open, and there's walls of drawings of his journey. Then he sees the drawing of the beast on the wall. And we look, and the beast is literally right there. He's called a Gomorrah. Full stop. This scene terrified me as a child. Okay. Nightmares. But instead of attacking him, the beast starts talking to him and telling him how weary and tired he is. But he does have energy for one more meal. Atreyu tells him that he must find a human child beyond the boundaries of Fantasia. And that's when Gomorrah, the wolf, drops some serious knowledge. Fantasia has no boundaries. It is literally the world of human fantasy. Every creature, every part of it was dreamed up by mankind. Atreyu wants to know, why then is Fantasia dying? Gomorrah tells him Fantasia is dying because people have lost their hope and they've forgotten their dreams. So the nothingness grows more and more and the despair is destroying the world. People who have no hope are easy to control. Whoever has the control has the power. Yo, that is a word. Okay, I was not expecting this level of enlightenment in my 80s childhood story. Turns out the Gamork is the servant behind the power of the nothingness, and he was sent to kill the only one who could stop it. My boy Atreyu does not back down, okay? He's like, guess what? That's me. I'm the one you've been looking for. Come at me, bro. Gamork leaps to attack him, but Atreyu had as a stick and stabs him, killing him. Atreyu's a warrior, yo. Don't forget. Then the whole place starts getting uprooted by the nothingness. Wind and everything blowing everywhere. It's big mad. Falkor arrives and snatches Atreyu up just as the last bit of Fantasia is destroyed. He really is a lucky dragon. Now they're flying through space as bits and pieces of Fantasia just float in the air. Everything is gone. Well, not everything. The ivory tower still stands. At this point, Sebastian is under some kind of covers and he is nearly finished with this book. Like, we are about to be at the end. Atreyu approaches the Empress and we see that it's a young girl. He tells her that he failed her and he's sorry. She tells him he hasn't. He has brought the earthling child with him who can save them all. Atreyu's like looking around like, all right, where are you at then? Back in the real world, Sebastian is reading all this and things are starting to click. The walls of the ivory tower are cracking and coming down. This is the last stand for Fantasia. The Empress tells Atreyu that the human child has been going through his adventures with him. But now it's time for him to save them.
Maybe he doesn't know what he has to do! What do I have to do? He has to give me a new name.
And he's already chosen it. He just has to say it. At this point, Sebastian is trying to keep it together. Okay? This is only a story. It's not real. It's not real. You sure about that? Back in Sebastian's world, there really is a storm happening. And it's blowing the windows. It breaks the window. The wind is going everywhere. Back in the book, the Empress is now in tears. And she calls out, she says, Sebastian, do what you dreamed of. Call my name. Okay. That's how she said it. Okay. Call my name. All right. Honestly, if I were Sebastian, I would be seriously freaking out right now. It's getting worse and worse. Fantasia's about to be gone. So Sebastian runs to the window and he yells into the night a name that I've listened to it like 8 times. I don't know what the name he said. Do you guys know? Like, I seriously don't know. Then everything goes black. Then it's just the Empress and Sebastian. He is now crossed over. All around them is blackness. And all there is just one little tiny light in her hand. Sebastian thinks it's too late, but the Empress comforts him. All is not lost. Fantasia can rise again. He can build it with his imagination. He just has to open up his mind. So Sebastian does that and he starts wishing. Next thing we know, Sebastian is riding Falkor, the dragon, through Fantasia. And everything that the nothingness took has been restored. The mountains, the lakes, the lands, the people. Atreyu is back with his horse Artax. Childhood trauma resolved. Then Sebastian rides Falkor into the real world in his city, in the sky. And he sees his bullies and literally uses the dragon to chase the bullies down an alley. And this time they voluntarily jump into the garbage to get away from Sebastian and the dragon.
Well. How the turntables?
No, but for real, did no one else see a luck dragon just flying in the sky in the city? Or is it one of those things where only like a child would see these things? As Sebastian and Falkor fly through the air, we hear a narrator's voice say that Sebastian made many more wishes and had many other adventures before returning back to the real world. But that is another story for another time. Roll credits. My thoughts. Not only is the NeverEnding Story one of the coolest titles for a movie ever, but it's still just as whimsical as I remember. It really encapsulates a fantasy world that a child would create. What I did not know until today is that this movie is based on a book called The NeverEnding Story, which I guess in hindsight makes way more sense. It was written by a German guy named Michael Ende in 1979. They made an English version in 1983. And if I had known this, I definitely would have read the book too. I love books. I just don't have the time that I used to read them all. I definitely plan to read this book someday. In the beginning of the movie, his father expressed that he wants Sebastian to get his head out the clouds and stop daydreaming and be responsible. And funny enough, Sebastian does the exact opposite of that. He is literally flying in the clouds with Falkor. Like at this point, Sebastian is 12, maybe even 13, and he is dealing with the grief of losing his mother. And I'm pretty sure some of his childhood innocence was lost because of that. But he's still a child, and children grieve differently. And honestly, I feel like the movie isn't just saying, let kids be kids. I think it's also speaking to adults. Like, yes, bearing responsibilities is important. It's a part of life, but it doesn't mean that you have to let your dreams die. Let's talk more about the Wolf Gomork, who says some very crucial things.
What is the nothing?
It's the emptiness that's left. It is like a despair.
His words alone about how, people with no hopes are easy to control, and whoever has the control has the power. Mic drop. The older I get, the more I realize just how dark the world really is. I was warned in my youth about the principalities of the darkness of this world, but I just did not fully understand it until my adulthood. And considering the state of things today and where we're headed and certain things that are being put in place, 1984 hits the nail on the head 40 years later. Even at the end when Sebastian calls out her name and it's black, before we see Sebastian and the Empress, we hear their voices. And he's asking her, why is it so dark? And the Empress answers, in the beginning, it's always dark. I see someone read Genesis. As far as I know, there were 2 sequels made for this movie. I've only seen the second sequel. And from what I remember, doesn't even hold a candle to this one. Nowhere near the quality of the first. It's very obvious that the creators put their all into this movie. Production design, story-wise. I mean, to the point where I believe there were some parts where children were put in danger on set. But it looks great. I guess Germany didn't have the same child protection labor laws. You know what I mean? What do you guys think about this movie? Have you seen it? Do you think I'm wrong about the sequels? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. Our next month's theme is movies with treasure hunts. As always, I'll put a poll out and let you guys choose which one I'll be checking out. Look out for the poll to drop on June 7th. I'll tally the results and return on June 24th with a brand new episode. If you enjoyed hanging out with me today, please hit that like button, subscribe, ring the notification bell so that you can always be up to date on what's going on. For the access to episodes, exclusive content, perks, and bonuses, check out my Patreon, NXG Global Productions, and become a part of the community. We're also on Spotify, Amazon Music, IHeart Radio, and wherever else you listen to your podcasts. Links are in the caption. Later.